Go ahead.
Sambado garavaso rajopato abhokaso pabbaja na idang sukarang agarang aja wasata ekanta paripunang ekanta parisudang Sankalikitang brahmacharyang charitung Yang nunahang ke samasung oharetwa Kasayani watani achadetwa Agarasama anagariyang pabajeyang. The household life is cramped and dusty. The homeless life is free as air. It is not easy, living the household life, to live the fully perfected holy life, purified and polished like a conch shell. Suppose I were to shave off my hair and beard, don the robes of a Buddhist monastic, and go forth from the household life into homelessness.
Okay. So you can sit comfortably. Okay, so what you've just recited is basically straight from the suttas, and is a aspiration that even in the Buddha's time people expressed to take the step of moving toward from lay life to monastic practice, from a life of living in the world to one of living as a renunciant, and that's something that is really worthy of supporting and worthy of delighting in. It's also something that was expressed by the Buddha in the the story of the Buddha, of his it could be the hagiography, the mythology, but it's certainly the how the expression of the Buddha's own aspiration of seeing him growing up, living in the palace and being surrounded by all of the comforts, benefits of the world, but then feeling a certain dissatisfaction and thought there must be more than this, and of course again in the story of the Buddha seeing an old person, a sick person, a dead person, and then again feeling even more dissatisfied one would think that the Buddha probably did see all these things, but never really reflected on it. That's because looking at it from a say a more modern perspective. In the classical story, then it was the king, his father, who made a point of making sure that the young prince, didn't experience any of these things. But whatever the case, the Buddha seeing or reflecting on that aging, sickness, death, and feeling really beset and beside himself, that this was the fate of human existence, and of course it is. But then it was and these are what are called the heavenly messengers, the first three, but the last is 4 heavenly messengers, and the last heavenly messenger is the Buddha seeing a renunciant, seeing a religious seeker, a samana. And it's related that in his seeing, on his seeing that religious seeker, seeing a samana, that what he expressed just sort of popped out of his mouth. Sadhu ko papacha, sort of going forth is good, and so that's what you're doing right now, that going forth, and recognizing that there is something like as this in this phrase itself from elsewhere in the suttas, the homeless life is free as air. And of course, once you start living the homeless life, it doesn't feel all that free as air, right? In fact, it starts to close in on you. You got all these rules, you got these regulations, kind of the way the monastery is set up, and it's like, wow, this is supposed to be free as air. Wow, this isn't very free. But it may not be, but it is also has a purpose, and has and of course the purpose is to be able to take our say our ordinary habits of greed, hatred, delusion. These are the fundamental stains in the human heart, and to transform them into wisdom, compassion, and purity. That is the like when we chant the paying respects to the Buddha, Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. And those are pointing to the fundamental say beautiful qualities, wholesome qualities that the Buddha signifies. Arahang is one, usually translated as one who's far from defilement, usually when we translate noble. Samma Sambuddho is one who's enlightened by themselves, completely, fully enlightened by themselves, pointing to the quality of wisdom. And Bhagava is sort of the blessed one, the one who brings blessings, and it's pointing to the quality of compassion. So that those are the kind of wholesome qualities or pure qualities that we have the opportunity to try to cultivate and develop. And also when we reflect on the, say, the purpose of our practice is to internalize those qualities as refuge. When we take refuge in the Buddha, it's not so much taking refuge in a historical figure or a mythological figure. It's taking refuge in these qualities and recognizing that those are qualities that we can cultivate and develop within our own hearts and within our own life. It's not something just a nice ideal or an empty theory. It is an opportunity that we have for transformation. So that being able to take our own habits that are rooted in desire, attachment, fear, self-obsession, whether it's in self-aggrandizement or self-deprecation, it's still obsession with self. And that being able to free the heart from that and take something else as a refuge, so that the actual taking of the your ordination is fundamentally taking refuges and precepts, and so that picking up those refuges of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha as a refuge, and that learning how to use these refuges and these training precepts to help support one's aspiration for peace, for say a heart that's free as air, and but it is necessary to keep returning to those fundamentals of how do we keep establishing a refuge, and even though it's one of the first things that one does as a say in this case in this ordination, but it's also in terms of say the conception of from a traditional Buddhist perspective, taking of refuge is one of the fundamental things that we do, so that being able to keep bringing to mind, recollecting, and establishing that sense of refuge, and that these qualities of the Buddha, wisdom, compassion, purity, these are things that exist within ourselves that need to be lifted up, cultivated, developed, relied on, made a refuge. The refuge of Dhamma, in terms of both the teachings, but also the teachings pointing to the true nature of things, that the underlying truths of just impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self. These are the basic, like universal truths. And if we look at it from a perspective of how one would like things to be, you say, well, it's really disappointing. But when you look at it in terms of, oh, this is actually, you look at it over and over and over again, and you see, yeah, there is this fundamental impermanence, change, uncertainty, inconstancy that keeps displaying itself. This aspect of dukkha in terms of whenever we act on desire and attachment, we keep being frustrated by that. And we keep experiencing this sense of dis-ease and discontent, and it is suffering, and a sense of not self in that, because things are anicca, inconstant, and dukkha, then they're not really in our control. They're not really. We can't. If we were able to control it, then it'd be worthy of calling it self. But it just isn't like that. So then, sort of seeing, oh, this is not self. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but it means it's not. You can't sort of say, this is what I am. This is me. This is mine. That's another source of frustration, and of course, that's what it's what we keep doing as human beings, and so it's just being able to rely on Dhamma as a refuge, and relying on Sangha as a refuge is both in terms of conventional Sangha, is putting on robes, putting on white robes, novice precepts, bhikkhu precepts. That's a conventional Sangha. But on a more, say, deeper level, it's just taking refuge in say that the practice itself, and one who, when we do the chanting, one who practices well, when we're reflecting on Sangha, Supatipanna, one who practices well. Ujjupatipanna, one who practices directly. Nyayapatipanna, one who practices. How's it translated? It's for knowledge and for understanding. Samicipanna, one who practices with integrity. So it's in terms of conduct and that is, and of course that's an internal thing again. And so that in taking refuge, it's not taking refuge in an individual, or taking refuge in, say, like in some traditions, it's taking refuge in the guru, the teacher. But there's a certain one relies on some guidance, but it's not a refuge. The refuge is Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and in all of its nuances, and to taking refuge in a community, taking refuge in a tradition, but it's always for this opportunity for transformation, and realizing that as we give ourselves to these refuges, then it actually does transform us, and again, and one has to give oneself to it, and commit oneself to it. It doesn't happen just by some magical quality of doing the recitation a certain number of times and it's going to transform you. It's around one's own, sort of giving oneself to the training, committing oneself to the practice, and then internalizing those qualities of wisdom, compassion, purity, commitment to truth, commitment to virtue. Those are the qualities that transform us and allow us to really, hearts to brighten. So just to delight in your intention, and you can come and receive your whites and come back. Come back in whitened. Back door. You can go straight up there. Yeah. And then if a couple people give them a hand. If you could put that out for them, that'd be helpful.
Ahang bante tisaranena saha atta silani yachami dutiyampi ahang bante tisaranena saha atta silani yachami tatiyampi ahang bante tisaranena saha atta silani yachami.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dhammang saranang gacchāmi.
Dhammang saranang gacchāmi.
Sanghang saranang gacchāmi.
Sanghang saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi dhammang saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi dhammang saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Ti sarana gamanaṃ nititaṃ.
Amma bante.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sura mereya majapamadatana veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
Sura meriya maja pamadatanha veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Oikala bojana veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
Vikala bojana veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
Nacha kita wadita visugadasana mala ganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
Nacha gita vadita visugadasana mala ganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatanha veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
Uchchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadang sammadhiyami.
Uchasayana Mahasayana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
Imani atta sikapandani samadhyami.
Imaniyatha Sikapadani Samadhyami. Imaniyatha Sikapadani Samadhyami. Imaniyatha Sikapadani Samadhyami.
Silena sukating yanti, silena bhoga sambada, silena niputing yanti tasma, silang visodaye.
Sadhu Bhante.
Okay, so you've formally taken the refuges and precepts. It's the format for taking on the Anagārika training, and so it's like a skillful form for being able to be internalizing these aspects of practice and training, having a refuge, and of course it encompasses all the Eightfold Path that the Buddha lies down of establishing right view and these aspects of training. What the Buddha calls the three bases of training in sila, samadhi, and panya. So virtue, meditation, wisdom. And the path encompasses all of them. And it's be an ongoing aspect of training is getting these things balanced and learning how they work, how they function, how they affect one, and how to internalizing it. Was thinking in terms of like taking the precepts on. Like when I was speaking with you and your family earlier, that aspect of the training and the precepts being a foundation for learning, study, education. And of course what we're learning about is our body, speech and mind. And that's the foundation of what we have. That's our resources available to us. And how do we understand it? How do we learn from it? And how do we transform it? And so that the precepts are what are called sila, so training in sila. Sila is usually translated as virtue, morality. And just recognizing that say sila or virtue is it's not just about keeping rules. It's about learning how to use these different aspects of virtue. Similar, like this morning in the reading from Luang Por Pasanno, talking about almsram, going pindabat, and that was achieva parisuddhi sila, and the sense of purity of livelihood as a basis for virtue, and that recognizing how we live, how we interact with the world. It's all a part of the cultivation of virtue. In the commentarial text, it points to sort of 4 aspects of virtue, and only one of them is about, say, rules. The Patimokkha Samvara Sila is a restraint in the Patimokkha, and sort of restraint in training precepts, which one can extrapolate to, say, one's 8 precepts as an Anagārika. So that's learning how to use the 8 precepts, learning how to train oneself in them. That's an aspect of virtue. And then the virtue based on livelihood, virtue based on use of requisites. So that is as a taking on the Anagārika training, living in the monastery, then one is dependent on the requisites that one has of say for the say the Anagārika is your robes, and then the lodging that we have, using the lodging for ongoing cultivation of one's practice and study of Dhamma, say, as opposed to lodging be a place where you crash out and hang out and when you don't want to go anywhere else. It's just it's a different relationship. It has so the lifting up one's relationship to things that are ordinary, one's robes, food, the medicines for when we're sick. We're sort of using these ordinary things that we rely on to be a basis for transformation, a basis for training ourselves, for learning how do we relate to it? How do we relate out of attachment? Do we worry about it? Do we get caught up in trying to get the newest thing? Well, you started off without the newest thing. You get this we're folding up your robe and say, okay, wow, you got the scruffy end of the white jackets. So it's a good start. And but they're the requisites for our living a life of training and a life of being a samana, one who is peaceful. The last aspect of sila that the Buddha points to is indriya samvara sila, so the sila virtue in terms of sense restraint. So that sense of training in one's use of the senses, so that we're using our contact of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and the mind itself as a basis of knowledge for our growth in Dhamma, growth in peace, as opposed to sense contact for stimulation or collecting information for irritation and aversion. So that is a sense of being able to use the senses in a wholesome way, positive way. So all these aspects of sila, virtue, are ways of training ourselves, and that's why in that verse that recite after you say Imaniyatta Sikapadani Samadhi. Okay, these are the 8 precepts that I've just determined. Say Silena Sukatinyati. Okay, this virtue is for well-being. Silena Bhoga Sampada. This virtue is a treasure. Silena Nibhutinyanti. This virtue is for a ending of suffering. So to cultivate and develop this tasama sila visode, to cultivate and develop this virtue. So it's again a foundation for training. And yes, it's a part of the whole path of our training in of virtue, of meditation, of wisdom, and so that this is a beginning of the path, and just to encourage you. Also, it's the next part of the ceremony is taking of dependence, and in the formula, one is taking dependence on the teacher, and that is, it's a necessary aspect of in a traditional approach to practice, in the sense that one is relying on the experience of a teacher to guide and encourage. But it's also it's not just sort of taking dependence on an individual. It's recognizing that one is coming into a community of people who have picked this and made a commitment to this training and this lifestyle, and people will, you have many people to help guide and help to support and to turn to for support as you continue this path and this practice. And it is important to take dependence. It's one. It's hard to making it up as you go along. Is not a good way to go, or just sort of picking and choosing of I like this, I'll do it this way. I don't like that, I'm not going to do it that way. And sort of part of the training is picking up what the standards of the teacher, the standards of the community that one lives in. So that sense of taking that on, and recognizing that it's a rich source of one's. It's like learning any kind of skill. One has to rely on the experience of others, and whether it's so it's just like, say, the skill of being putting your robes on, looking after your bowl, looking after your requisites, the different ways of deportment that are part of the training, because that's, even as a say one say as an Anagārika, one say okay, one is taking on the 8 precepts, but it also encompasses the aspects of within the say the bhikkhu patimokkha, that are concerned with deportment and how one walks, how one sits, how one eats, and those are just basic ways that one orders one's life as a religious seeker, as a member of a community of religious seekers. So just using those fundamentals of conduct and the standards of the community to use. And again, all of it needs to be internalized. It isn't just sort of getting it as getting the rules down right, or getting the standards down right. It all has to be brought back in, and how do I cultivate a continuity of mindfulness? How do I cultivate an attitude of reflection and investigation? How do I pay attention in ways that allow one to be attentive to the needs of others in the sense of caring and kindness and generosity? Those are all parts of the training and things that it gives us the opportunity to grow in. So you can go ahead and formally take dependence.
Acharyo me bante hohi ayasmato nisaya vachami. Acharyo me bante hohi ayasmato nisaya vachami. Acharyo me bante hohi ayasmato nisaya vachami.
Opayikam
Sadhu bante.
pati rupam
Sadhu bante.
pasadikena sampadehi
Sadhu bante. Ajata gedani tero mai hang baro ahampi terasa baro. Ajata gedani tero mai hang baro ahampi terasa baro. Ajata gedani tero mai hang baro ahampi terasa baro.
Okay. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, welcome in. I think it's always wonderful to see people making that putting forth the effort to pick up a seeking of the lifestyle that requires some kind of commitment, some kind of determination, and it does. There'll be times when you're inspired, and there'll be times when you're completely frustrated and fed up. So, but that's it. Making that commitment is it's just not getting too swept up by the kind of the inspiration, and not getting too frustrated by the sense of, okay, what the heck am I doing here anyway? So just learning from all of it. maybe we can close with a dedication of sharing the blessings.
Volume 1. Page 35. 54. No. 33. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless through the goodness that arises from my practice. And through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled.
Okay, settle in. If you have any questions, doubts, difficulties, feel free to check in with me or with any of the other senior monks or the other monks. Just draw on the resources.